Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Biz Buzz. We're here to talk to folks who know what it really takes to run and grow a small business, the wins, the challenges, and everything in between. My partner, Sean, isn't here today, so I'm happy to be joined with Clarisse Viduya. She is the founder of Sticky Post Social, an agency that works with niche service-based businesses who care deeply about their clients and want their content to reflect that. So at Sticky Post Social, Clarisse leads a small but mighty team that brings the content to life with structured processes, which I love. And those processes makes it easy to stay managed and on track. So in this episode, we're going to talk about how she's taken her business from what was a vision into a structure that now works for her, what's maybe still a little bit messy, and what she's learned along her journey. So let's welcome Clarisse. So, Clarisse, let's jump right in. Let's take you back to the early days of Sticky Post. What did your vision look like when you started? And what made you realize you needed structure in order to grow?
So when I first started, I had the original idea that I wanted the structure to grow. It took a while for us to get there, but that was always the intended idea. I knew that I wanted to scale it. I knew that I wanted to hire people. I knew that I wanted to hire specialists to do the things that were going in the business. I could work on the business. It took about 3 years to make me feel like I got there. Like I actually am working more on the business than I am in the business. It took a few strategic hires to get there along the way. But that was always the original idea from the very first client that I onboarded, even when it was still just me. The initial idea was always to have that separator, that differential in our team, in our processes. And even when I hired, so let's say I did my first hire, even though she was more my right hand and she was doing everything I was doing from a project coordinator standpoint or an assistant standpoint, or strategist standpoint, I always deviated her tasks so that if you were to put me and that person in an organizational chart, it was always divvied up as different people, even though it was the same person doing the same job. So I've always had this thing since the beginning.
Well, and I love that because a lot of founders, business owners, they have the vision of growth and they know they want to get somewhere, but those pieces that you're talking about, they don't necessarily think about those pieces. It's going to grow, and yes, I'm going to go from here to here, but not seeing the importance of the structural piece as the foundation of growth. So, can I ask, do you do that in your personal life? Has that always been something that you like, or was this a transition for you knowing, okay, I'm building a business, I need to do this? Does that make sense?
Like,
So for me, I'm very type A and I like structure and putting pieces together. For me, it's like a ladder, right? I know I need to get here. So what are all the steps I'm going to do to get there? And I do that in my personal life as well. So do you use that same kind of mentality in your personal life as well?
very interesting question. I'm gonna have to say both yes and no. Yes, because I used to be that way, and I still am in so many ways. Like everything kind of has a rhyme or reason to everything that I'm doing. But since I started traveling about 7 years ago, traveling is chaos. Let's put it that way. Like traveling is chaos, and I think like sometimes, it's like there's so many things about traveling that just throws you into the deep end that you won't necessarily be able to have the ladder or the structure. Even like right now, my plans completely changed, right? Like within a week, it all changed and I was able to just pivot. I think you need both, to be really honest. You need both of that structural way of thinking, but also being able to, and I think that's how I got here. To me, 3 years was a long time, but I talked to so many business owners and I would just tell them I've done it. And they're like, it only took you 3 years. That's what they would tell me. And I think it's because of the way that I've traveled, being able to pivot and rerun everything. I really hyper focused on it. I would say being able to put that structure and process in place before profit. Our second year was such a plateau. We didn't grow at all in our second year. Not really. That was when I had so many trials and errors and doubled down on the things that we were doing to be able to hire correctly, to be able to put the process in. There were so many trials and errors and things that didn't work, didn't work, didn't work, which I think is where the traveling comes in, where it's like you don't have that hierarchical structure. It's like having that mindset of like, okay, this is where I want to go, but then the journey to get there, I think you do need to be able to embrace that chaos because that second year, I think I cried probably almost every week.
I love that. And thank you for bringing that up because Sean and I have actually done an episode on the point to your goal might be here, but that roadmap to get there is not straight. We'd always hope we're going to be able to, take Highway 1 from here to here and get there when you realize it's going to take you like this. So I love your reflection on comparing that to travel because I 100% agree. When you have that travel plan and your flight gets canceled or weather happens, you have to have the ability to pivot. So I love that reflection. The point that has been a growth opportunity for you, I think is such a growth opportunity. And I love your relation to your business. So, thanks for sharing that. That's wonderful, wonderful. And we're always growing. So I love that too. So, what really pushed you to move your business from, I can't do it all anymore? And, how did your business change once you had that reflection? And I hear that it kind of was like that in the beginning, but even in our conversations, you've said, I realize there's still more that I'm doing that I don't need to do. So, how did you make that move? Or what was that? Ooh, I can't do this anymore.
I knew exactly where I wanted to go with that answer after you said the question. Honestly, these questions are so incredible. I love them. When you have a social media marketing agency, everything is so repeatable. Everything you do every single month for almost every single client is very repeatable. And that's why it's great as an agency service. When you ask that question, the first thing I thought of, because when you have the same exact things that you have to do every single day, there are some to-do lists that I would keep because sometimes it's on paper, like it's on my notebook, and I would just flip through a year ago or months ago or even 2 years ago, and you're still like, write this thing or create this thing or do this thing that you're doing for a client in the business is exactly the same. I could have taken that piece of paper, put it for this moment right now, and it would be exactly the same checklist. And that was when I realized I can't keep doing that forever. I need to be able to actually fully give out everything that I'm doing for the client to somebody else. And I was able to do that for the most part. There was a point in time until we hired our last strategic hire where it was like, okay, this can work. But the thing is, if I want to expand, if I want to bring in more clients, and I do have all of these clients still in my roster, I'm just going to get busier. The initial idea was like, okay, I'm going to make myself so busy that I said, I'm going to go work on the business, I'm going to work in the business. And I realized that that's a fast way to burn out. I was burning out with doing the client work. I've been doing some of the stuff that I was doing, like writing for like our highest paying client. Like I didn't want to give it to somebody else in our team. And I was just like, I can't do that. Like if I really want to grow, I can't have any of my hours going into this. When we hired our strategic hire, and I pushed all of the clients I was working on to her, that was when everything shifted. When I hired her, it was definitely a risk because I said, okay, I'm going to fill up my calendar. So I'm working on both so that I didn't take out, profit, like revenue profit. So I didn't take out profit. But I realized it would eat into our profits. I'm betting on the long term because I need to free up my time so I can work on the business and trust my team. If I onboard a client, it runs like a well-oiled machine because now I'm free to do the things I'm meant to do as a business owner, which is to lead my team.
Love it. Great. So now that we're on team, you just said all the words that light me up. So I love all of this. So wonderful. Let's talk about the team a little bit. Yes, you've grown your team. You've made these strategic hires, the right hires. What is one thing that's really going well? And then let's talk about something that's still a work in progress when it comes to the team.
Yeah, so even though I've really put in so much of the work, there is so much more. I think that is when mentorship is super important because up until this point, I've figured it all out myself. I've worked for another agency before, worked for other companies before yourself. I've never really been in a leadership position like in any of the roles that I've had before. And so getting to this point was a lot of trial and errors. To answer your question, I think what's working really well right now is because of all the strategic hires that I've put in place. and the vision that I've had from the beginning, which is to really differentiate all of the roles in our company and then be really clear about what those are from the beginning. When we hire, you know exactly what you're going to do. That has helped us have the team run very smoothly. We have a lot of our processes and systems really put together, and I have almost everyone on our team touch it as well. It's not just like one person is doing everything. Have a meeting, look at what's missing, tell me what are guidelines you need, and then you put it together. I check it later, but you scrutinize it together as a team so that you know what is going inside of it, because you're the one that's going to need it. I know our clients. I know exactly what to do. If any of you are out for the day, I don't think I need to look at this brand guideline. There's one guiding light principle for every client we onboard, and we also have it for our company. We have meetings where we review those, especially if there are updates. They work together to cohesively put that together. I always tell the team, we are one. Every single person on this team works together, and every input is important. It's not just if I say something. If you see something that I say you can override because you think yours will work better or more efficiently, let's do that, right? But we always work together as a team. So I think that's one thing that's worked really well. It's just having the strategic hires and then the processes and systems that all of our team works on and that I have oversight on and guidance on. And then the thing that isn't really fully working yet is being able to train my team so that they understand exactly where I'm going. And that's the thing that I always ask them for help with. We have our one-on-ones, and I always tell them our one-on-ones is not just for you, it's not just for the company, it's also for me. It's for everybody. So I'm here to ask questions for you so I can make it better for you, questions about the company so we can make it better for the company. But I always tell them the last piece is so that I can be a better leader for them. Because sometimes I'll get comments of like, you went so fast. I'll just go so fast and won't tell them anything. Like I thought I told them something and they're like, you did, but I felt like sometimes I was in the dark. Like those, that's something that I've had a comment with before from one of my team members. And I'm always very receptive to feedback. I always want to make sure that I let them know you can always tell me anything and everything, and I will never get upset. I'll always take that feedback, take action on it for the company, for you, and for me. And I think some of those things is just being able to communicate in a way that the standards are understood from my end, and also the communication piece within the system. So it's having an actual process and system that really works where there isn't a lot of oversight. We're almost there. The problems are just those last pieces of how do you fully implement something. There are some things that we're implementing and it takes a while to implement it. And that's like, okay, like how can I implement that better so that the team understands that I need that implemented, and that's like non-negotiable. Our team communicates very well, but sometimes just things fall through the cracks, and just like finding a way so that it doesn't fall through the cracks. And then also really training the team to understand the company's mission and vision and really where we're trying to head and who I want them to be as a person, to really have like that excellence that like I put forth like with our clients, and like being able to fully replicate that without me being there at all. So, I mean, obviously, I don't know if I'll ever never be there at all, but I think you know what I mean. It's really just someone else in the company doing it. A small percentage of things are still heavily reliant on me that I want the team to fully take over, but I think we're on our way there. It's just more figuring it out.
And you know what? Coming this far in 3 years and being almost to that point is a huge feat in itself. So I would say you having that feeling of success is a huge accomplishment. So you should be very proud of yourself for where you are. Just looking back at what I heard from you, so the things that are working for you, it sounds like the team is quite collaborative. You have a lot of collaboration in how things are built and how things are working because they realize that it needs to work for them. I hear you are cross training. So people do touch each piece. Therefore, if someone is out, you don't necessarily have to be the one picking up the pieces, which is awesome. I hear communication is working, but also still a work in progress, which, that's not a bad thing, right? You sound like having one-on-ones, having open communication with your team. Those are all amazing things that you do as a leader. And then the work in progress piece is still that communication within systems, the communication of our mission, vision, and values. Where do we want to go and why are things important? I think businesses always are challenged with that because we need to reiterate it many times so people can understand why we do what we do. So it needs to be embedded in everything we have within our business. I love that you're saying to help them understand what excellence looks like. And a big piece of what I'm hearing in your work in progress too is that change management, why we are doing what we are doing to get them to understand it so they will actively participate in it. Change management is a challenge for a lot of people, right? That everybody's looking at, how does it impact me? And if we don't really communicate the how it impacts me and what it means to the business in the long run, there's a gap in change management there. I think the rock star that you are in getting your business to where it is in 3 years is really impressive. You should be really proud of yourself.
Well, thank you. I really do prioritize the people first. So it's our clients and our team really in tandem together first. And I think that's what makes me super happy and successful. Obviously, business is about profit also and
Of
about
course.
money, but I don't relate my success to that profit standard because I also think in long term. I definitely relate it in how much impact am I making in our team's lives, in our clients' lives, and the excellence that we deliver, and also just the things I'm learning along the way.
I love it. Tell me about, you have this in your business and you've built this structure. Does this impact the types of clients that you work with and how you support your clients? Can you tell me about that integration there?
I think from the beginning when I started the agency, I don't want people thinking that I just had it all figured out. When I was freelancing, I tried everything. I went through all the terrible, wrong, bad clients you could possibly think of, people I would never work with again. You know what I mean? It's like, don't get me wrong. Like when I say at the beginning, I meant the beginning of the agency, but I freelanced before that. The agency was born out of freelancing. I just had so many clients on my roster that they were like, why don't you just start an agency? To be very clear with everybody, I took so many risks in the beginning as well by having these principles. Not everybody can really do that. I'm single, I travel, I don't have any obligations to anybody else except for myself. So that helped a lot as well. When I was freelancing, I had so many of the wrong clients. I was burning out a lot and really, really fast. I had quit all of my clients to start the agency because I was in the wrong boat, because I was like, I don't want to serve any of the clients I'm serving right now. And I was way like, I mean, I had a full roster. And to get rid of all that, my friends were like, why don't you just keep one? I was like, no, I want to start over. I want the right client. I don't want people to think, oh, like she just has all of this figured out. It's like, no, like I went through all the things that I know I didn't want. Even when I worked for the agency I used to work for, I saw so many things that they did that I was like, I don't want that when I start my agency. So there was also like those things that I learned from other people and things that I learned for myself. But when I first started out in the agency, because of the freelancing thing that I was doing, where I did work with all of these other people that I was like, never ever again, I put together almost like a list, right, of your ideal client profile, like your ideal client avatar, right? But honestly, it was more filled with no's rather than yeses. I didn't know exactly that it was going to be service based. I didn't know that it was going to be the niche specific focus that I'm working with right now. I didn't know any of that. All I know is that I didn't want to work with a certain set specific of people, which are very like micromanaging people, people who doesn't value expertise, people who are just telling you what to do, people who treat you like a VA, people who are literally just never happy with any results that you make, no matter how good they are. Yes, I can probably boil it down to I don't work with ecom just because I need to believe in the products that we market as well. And I'm such a minimalist that I was like, do I really want to market most products? I don't. So I've taken off most products off of the shelf for us based off of belief and principles alone. But there are some where it's like content creators. Content creators used social media when they were starting. Like that's literally the definition of content creation, right? And when they grow big enough, so the agency I used to work for, they mostly work with content creators. And I said never again because of the fact that they know so much about social media that they really just want you to follow their basic formula.
Right.
Whereas I was like, no. And also we were posting 4 times a day, which was insane. And I was just like, no, I don't want to do that.
Hmm.
And so it was filled with all of these. I don't want to work with these types of people, but I didn't know who. Actually, I believe in the universe giving you what you ask for. I really, really do. I said, okay, I'm going to quit all my clients. The last client that I quit was the agency. I had a lot of freelance clients and then I worked for an agency. They were the last ones I quit because they were the hardest ones to quit. Plus, it was about a little under 50% of my client base. So it was the biggest chunk of money coming in. I did put in a message to them to say, hey, I'm going to leave. Let me know when you want my last day to be. I just wanted them to finish their transition. I didn't want to give them like a timeline because I wasn't really in a rush to not have any money coming in. It was like, take the time you want, but I am leaving. Let me know when you finish transitioning the clients. It's just a nice thing for them as well. They don't have to worry about, oh my gosh, like it's just a sudden thing. It's like, okay, you take your time. I'm okay. We finished transitioning it. Before so they were slowly rolling out clients because an agency where it can take a little bit of time. Before they finished rolling out, I think I had two clients left that I was working on with them. Before they had fully transitioned that out, someone had reached out to me. They were my very first client. They're still a client to this day. I love them so much. And they were my ideal client profile. Like, even though I didn't know what I wanted, I was just like, oh my gosh, I love this person so much. Like, they were everything that I've ever wanted. And ever since then, following that, it has been like that, except for our second year, where I think it was our messiest. And it was the time that we really doubled down on so much of the trial and errors where I was willing to try different things. And, I allowed things in that I normally wouldn't let in. And that was when I realized in our third year that I was just like, okay, these are the things that I want, and these are the things that we need. Even though I say I knew everything from the beginning, there was a lot of trial and errors before that. In the middle of it, when we started hiring more for other things, because I've always said that I think I've always over delegated. I never had a problem of under delegation, it's been over delegation, which is maybe a less bad problem to have. When we were hiring and hiring and hiring and bad hire, bad hire, bad hire, and maybe it's not a bad hire, maybe we just didn't know how to hire either. Maybe I was bad at hiring as well. So I was figuring all of that out in the second year. But the way we structured our clients didn't change except for in the second year we allowed people in that micromanaged us, paid as well, by the way. Like, not every high person that's paying you does not mean that they're not a pain in the butt. It can There are some that are lower paying that doesn't mean the amount that someone's paying you means nothing. It's more their personality, their character, the way they run their business, the way that they're also a delegator. Like, I love hiring people who are master delegators because they don't
Mhm.
bother you. They really trust you, they trust your expertise. And then I also love hiring people who really cares about their business because there's so much about that to the way that we can represent them. I just told this to somebody as well. It's not deliberate, but I just looked at the Google Star ratings of all of our clients. I actually thought it was 4.7, but it's actually 4.9. That is the lowest rating out of all of our clients. And that means their clients love them as well. And they're easier to market. So those are the things that I look for whenever we onboard the founder's passion for their business, the fact that they care so much about their other clients, but also that they are master delegators, which means they trust your expertise, and they're not necessarily marketers themselves either. If you're a marketer, there are some marketers that are definitely very hands off as well. We've taken on people who knew marketing very well and they were still very hands off. And I appreciate that, especially in the position that I'm at. I love it when people respect the expertise of the person that they're hiring. If you're going to hire me to tell me what to do, hire a VA. Do not hire a specialist. That's the one thing that I've really differentiated from the very beginning. We are going to be different as a whole in terms of how we run the agency, but also how we are perceived as an agency. And that's why I train my team so much to be the experts in what they do. And I only hire people as experts in the specific thing that they do so that they tell me what to do. I don't tell them what to do. Now, that's still kind of a work in progress. But for the most part, it's like you are the expert. Like, you decide on the editing that you want to do. I don't have to tell you, okay, use this transition or it has to be this. No, you decide. And then we collaborate on it. I don't know if that fully answered your question because I know you asked more on the client side, but I just wanted to emphasize that I was very clear on who I wanted to onboard. I really didn't want someone, it either needs to be either collaborative or we are the experts, but never you telling us what to do, because that was what happened when we worked with content creators. Like, that was all that was happening. It's not an industry I ever want to step into.
No, and you definitely answered the question. Like for me, what I heard was you learn through lessons, right? You've gone through different experiences and you're learning what works and what doesn't work for you. And especially when you're learning about your clients. We all need that ideal client. And that was something that I struggled with at the beginning. Who's your ideal client? Well, I don't know yet because I haven't worked with enough folks to really get that feel. But how you're integrating your authentic self and your values into the clients that come into your life, right? I work like that as well. Heart-centered clients, ones that know That's how you're running your business, and that's how you're building your workflows to make sure your team knows what they're accountable for. They have autonomy and ownership over what they're doing. To your point, you're not telling them how to edit something. You're giving them the freedom and flexibility as long as it meets the standard. And that's what you want in your clients as well is, hey, I'm the expert. Tell me what you want to see and what you think it should look like, and then give me the autonomy and ownership to do that for you. So you answered the question in how you run your business is what you're looking for in your clients as well, and the clients that you bring in. And I think that feels in alignment with our values, right? Because to your point, you've worked with people that you really didn't want to work with. They may have paid the bills, but there is a time that we need to exit those folks because they're misaligned to our company values and just maybe overall, right? So you did answer
Yeah.
the question. So thank you.
Thank
So
you. As a marketer as well, you have to know the product to market something. And it's easier to market a product that if you believe in it and actually want to market it. That's been a standard guiding principle for us as well.
yeah. And even for myself, I'm not a marketer per se, but I love knowing what my client is selling is making a difference or an impact to someone's life or someone's experience. So I think whether you're marketing, whether you're supporting in the back end, if you don't believe in what their product is, are you selling your soul a little bit just for the dollars? So yeah, I agree. So you mentioned a little bit about year two and that messy middle. That's what I'm hearing. So to close off, let's talk about one piece of advice that you'd really give someone who in that messy middle right now. You've kind of talked about it a little bit, but what's the one thing that somebody's still trying to figure it out that you'd tell them?
One is, I think I just wish I had a mentor at that time. And don't get me wrong, it's not that I didn't look for one. Obviously, you could pay for one. But even if you paid for one, I think I isolated myself a little too much at that time to where I was just like, okay, I'm going to figure it all out myself, which ended up working anyway. And don't get me wrong, I tried to look for mentors. There were so many things that I had paid for that I was just like, okay, it's not this, it's not that. So it really depends on your own personality as well. Like, can you find the right person to be there for you? I found you, but you have to find people at the right time that they're meant to be in your life, I think, as well. Maybe at that time I was just meant to figure it out on my own. There was a point in time where I said, should I work for another agency while I'm running my agency so I can learn their process? There were so many things going on in my head of how can I learn this faster? That was the one thing going on in my head. Should I get a mentor? I did think about going back to work for an agency just so I can see their process, even if it's just for a couple of months. I know it was kind of like a terrible thought. I wanted to learn as quickly as possible. Obviously, I didn't do it for many reasons because I didn't want to work for somebody else again. And I was just like, okay, I can figure it out. I think as long as you got it with a good heart, I don't think you're really doing them a disservice because I know I could provide the quality that they would have
Mhm.
wanted and maybe I would have stayed longer as well. But in my head, that was like, okay, like that was going through my head at that time of the messy middle. And the thing is, you're going to have a lot of thoughts that you're either not going to implement, you're going to have a lot of thoughts that are maybe really terrible, you're going to have a lot of bad ideas, you're going to have a lot of just things that are not going to work. The second year was when I questioned everything. The second year was when I was just like, is this really working? What am I doing? Why is this so frustrating? Why am I trying so hard? Why am I working so many hours and nothing is working? My biggest piece of advice would be if you can find someone to get you there faster, do that. But if you decide to go at it on your own, like I did, and you decide that, okay, like I either can't find the right mentor, because the right mentor is important. It's not the right person has to be the one leading you. If you cannot find that right person, I think you're better off doing it on your own. If you're gonna do it for yourself on your own and you're gonna figure it out all on your own, I think the biggest thing that I would suggest is either find like even just like networking or connection group because that was what really helped me on our third year was when I joined a connection group because then you don't feel so alone even if you are alone. Really my biggest one is emotional. I just want to say something from my heart, which is that even if you figure it all out, because I didn't join the networking group until third year. So all of this in the second year, I really just figured it out on my own. The biggest thing that I want to say is that you will figure it out. Even if it takes you long. The second year was a full year. It was like that second year was so tumultuous. In that second year, we onboarded a big client that was the micromanaging one. We lost that client about 8 months later. It hurt because we weren't in a place where we were stable, where anything was really working. When you lose a big client like that, on top of everything else that you're doing, you feel even worse. I just want to tell this person, no matter what year you're in, if you're in that messy middle, and the thing is like, the next level that you get to, there's still a messy middle. So maybe I'm still talking to myself as well. It's like, no matter what season you're in your business, if it feels like nothing's working, you will figure it out. The only thing you cannot do is give up. If it's really something you want to do and you have a vision for the future of what you want it to be, if you stick with it, even if it's through trial and errors and there's no one guiding you, you will still figure it out. It might take a little bit longer, but don't give up. And I did so much journaling around that time. I am a person of faith, so I did a lot of that as well. But it's just like journaling and really being very clear about what I wanted and then keeping those notes so that I can look back at it and see how far I've come as well. And, when we did our last strategic hire, it was still scary, to be honest. But that relief I had when I was like, oh my gosh, I have the dream team. We have our process. I'm working on the business. I look back at that second year and I'm actually really proud. Yes, I would still be proud even if I had a mentor or someone to have helped fast tracked it. But I'm so proud of everything I've figured out in
Hmm.
those 2 years with my team. And it makes it so worth it, especially if your goal is something bigger than yourself. If your goal is to even just learn about all the things, learning, it's something that you can teach. And so it's like, if you have something in the bigger picture for yourself or for anybody else in your life, it makes that thing when you figure it out so worth it. And you just get to be so proud of yourself. So keep going, like
Yeah.
keep going. I promise you, no matter what way you get there, that's the way that's meant for you. Just don't give up and keep believing in yourself.
Love that. Appreciate that you said having that network in the community probably would have been more helpful and you wouldn't have had to do it on your own. As business owners, we often feel alone. So if you are doing it alone, have patience and have grace for those little wins, like when you're bootstrapping, building your own website, or you're connecting your calendar to your CRM and you're like, oh, I did this. For me recently, it was I had a bookkeeper just clean up my books, and it was like, oh, I paid someone to support me in that. And the relief you feel from doing things like trust your gut, right? I love that's what I'm hearing from you. Trust your gut. And also, losing that big client hurt, but it also sounded like it was a bit of a blessing,
Yes.
right?
Yes. It
Because
was definitely
it was
a
their help and pay the bills, but they're a terrible client. And when they left, you're like, oh my God. But then it's like, oh my goodness. I love that you say trust in the universe because I really believe people bring clients and mentors into your life when it's meant to be. Thank you for sharing that journey. That was very insightful and impactful for folks to hear. I love you started messy, right? You went through all the things. The other thing I'd love to say is there's always a messy. It's just going to look different at different stages and seasons, right? So, what is your current messy, right? Things are going to maybe feel perfect, but you might get to a point where, oh my goodness, we have so many people on our team. Now it's a different messy. So, now what's the next phase of my business? Thank you for sharing all of that. I love hearing that structure does not happen overnight. And, success never happens overnight. It's an evolution. Thank you so much, Clarice, for being so open about your journey, the systems that supported you, the growth that you've had, the messy parts that are kind of unfolding throughout your business. If you're someone who's listening and you're somewhere in that messy middle with Clarice, like reminder that clarity does come from structure. As much as some folks might push away from structure, clarity does come from that. And structure doesn't mean perfection. It's still not perfect. And honestly, it's never going to be perfect, right? If we strive for perfection, we're probably going to burn ourselves out.
yes.
Yeah, wonderful. So, Clarice, thank you again for joining us on the Biz Buzz. Don't forget to follow us, but also check out Clarice. We'll put all of her information in the show notes. And we know you'll continue to build something great, Clarice. So, thank you for joining today.
Thank you so much, Heather. I enjoyed being here.
Keep the buzz going, everyone. Talk to you later.